All right, why don't we get going then? I know I had a couple of RSVPs, and some folks are at a doctor's office and some are out on the road. But like nicely, this meeting is being recorded, so it'll be up on YouTube a little bit later. And to get going then, what I'd like to do is introduce our first guest, and thank you very much for coming out this early in the morning, although you said you're always here this early, because we're on the East Coast, but Kiwa is on the West Coast. So Kiwa is our Vice President of Agent Experiences. Kind of an interesting title. I'll let you give him some details. I'll let him give you some details about what his position is. But I think Agent Experiences is going to involve onboarding and transactions and supporting agents and things like that. I'm not sure if a better agent experience includes foot rubs, but we can certainly ask him about that. So, Kiwa, the floor is yours for whatever you want to tell us.
Awesome. Thanks, JT. And thanks, everyone, for having me this morning. It is definitely a pleasure to be able to join state meetings like this. And JT was kind enough to proactively reach out to me and invite me. And I was like, perfect, sign me up. I'm on board, and I wanted to provide you some updates. But before I do, maybe I can describe a little bit about what agent experience is, and then I'll talk about some of the priorities that we're working on right now as the agent experience team, and then talking a little bit about the vision in terms of where we're heading to. The only rules of engagement here that I have is stop me if you have a question. I'd be more than happy to make this really, really interactive. That's what I prefer. But again, thank you for having me, and hopefully this will be some informative information that hopefully you haven't heard about, or if you have, hopefully it's a little bit of an update that what you may have already heard. So again, thank you, JT, for the opportunity here. So in terms of agent experience, it's a unique title. It's a unique title to EXP. I know that there's a lot of franchises and larger brokerages out there that have a customer experience arm, and that's my background. Just to let everyone know, I have quite a bit of background in terms of customer experience, and I can explain what that is as well. But we just kind of tweaked the title a little bit because the key customers that I have are agents and brokers, right? And so it's an incredible organization. When I take a look at it in terms of the breadth and the depth of the umbrella and the organization that I help manage. So first off is just explaining what agent experience is now, and then it may change a little bit as I talk a little bit about the future vision. But there's three primary groups that is under my team's umbrella. It's the agent services team, the transaction team, and the tech support team. So I'm sure that most of you have had interactions or engagements with these three groups. And also what I am looking forward to doing is actually changing the name of the groups as well to make it a little bit more self-explanatory, because if you walk up and you see agent services, you're probably going to wonder, well, what is that, right? And so that team is primarily responsible for onboarding net new joining agents. And so we onboard individual agents, we onboard agents that are part of a team, and obviously we have a huge focus in terms of some of the big states we have. So if you had to choose one word and one word only, it's onboarding. And I'll explain what that bigger umbrella looks like in the future as well. The second piece is the transaction team. So again, Jody English and a lot of the folks that are currently part of that team, they help you with a lot of what we call the compliance issues, right? Making sure that we have all the documentation turned in. We chase down for signatures. Essentially, at the end of the day, if I had to give a few words on this one, their role and responsibilities is to make sure everything is in order, accelerate the velocity of payment to all of you, right? That's pretty much the main objective for them at the end of the day. And then tech support, it's a very interesting model here. I also been at Microsoft for 17 years, and tech support was very siloed or limited in terms of, if it was a Word engineer, it was a Word engineer. If it was a Windows support person, it was a Windows support person. Our tech support team has quite a big job in front of them. They are responsible for breadth and depth. So every one of the technologies that we have in terms of if something's not working correctly, or if it's not setting up correctly, or the MLS isn't showing up, or those aren't showing up on your systems, that is what my team does. But in addition to that, it's anything that we have seen people come in with going, my laptop's not working, my video card's not working, or the sound isn't working. Well, that's my team's charter as well. So as you can kind of imagine, it's very, very difficult to be a expert, not only in depth of certain items, but it's also an amazing responsibility for breadth in terms of pretty much everything that comes across their plate. So imagine the millions of different combination of systems and software and tools and hardware that come across their desk. But that is, again, part of the organization of agent experience. I'll pause in just one more minute here, and I'll take it up for questions. But one of the things that's it's quite interesting when you're looking at agent experience is it really goes beyond those three teams, as all of you know, right? It's what the accounting team does, it's what the marketing team does, it's what the product development engineering teams do, it's what the leadership team does. And so when I was hired on, right, it was talking about what agent experience or what customer experience was. And there was two answers I gave. One is it's end to end. Right? There is no boundary. There are no bumpers or guards on that, that bowling lane that kind of keep you within a certain swim lane. It's everything. Anytime that there's an interaction with an agent, regardless of what it is, that is part of agent experience. Second answer that I gave was around customer experience, and I was asked by Russ, "What do you think customer experience means?" And my answer was customer service, and I answered it a little bit differently, but I said customer service is when customer experience fails, right? So the only time you really are coming into the world is really generally when something's wrong, right? You need help with something, or something's not working correctly. So here's the answer, right? I mean, the transaction team obviously is there to help, but if we did a better job, right, and this is part of the vision, I'm kind of going into the vision a little bit, and I'll pause, is if we were doing our jobs and we were doing it well, you shouldn't have any questions, right? If we were doing training correctly when you first onboarded, and we were doing follow-up training or continuous learning correctly, you shouldn't have questions. If we were, managing the transactions well, and you understood what you needed to do as part of your transaction in SkySlope, and we had, and I already heard at the very beginning, the notifications through text messages. If we had notifications built in that would help you, remind you of what tasks you need to do, you wouldn't have to come into the world, right? And so again, there's a philosophy that I have, and that is, you come in for customer service or agent service, but you really shouldn't have to, right? At the end of the day, there may be times, outlier use cases that you have to come into the world, but at the end of the day, right, my world is, I look at it as, instead of 80-20, I look at it as 90-10. 90% of the time is when we've taken care of you and have done it so well that you don't have to come in for a particular help issue, and 10% of the time are those outlier cases, right? And so that's kind of the philosophy, and then I'll talk a little bit about where we're moving as an organization. But I just wanted to pause there, just making sure everyone understood what my organization currently looks like, but also my philosophy in terms of what agent experience is like. Comments or questions?
I just love where your head's at, Kiwa. Yeah, that makes me very happy that we have someone like you doing this.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I mean, again, the opportunity, and I'm not going to go through resumes or anything like that, but when I was presented with the job and took a look at, just the number one, there was a lot of volume, and as you are experiencing day to day, and you're going to find me, Kate, to be one of the most transparent people as well. Whether it makes me look good or bad, I'm going to tell you what it is. But there's a lot of things. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of broken things right now. Albeit, the majority of the experiences here at EXP is phenomenal, which I have seen. The commitment from the staff is great, but there's things that just aren't working well, right? And so, and again, I'm gonna hit it straight on, guys. Payments. So when I first came on board, I heard loud and clear, really within the first week and 2 weeks of conversation that I had, payments is an issue, right? There's lots of reasons behind it. And I'm going to give you, again, these are not excuses. These are just data points that I'm trying to navigate through. Number one is, as you all know, the growth. You know it better than I do. The growth of the company is really at a hyper growth, and it's amazing. It's a great problem to have, but not, again, it's an issue that we're having. Two, we launched an enterprise app system. So this is, if you haven't heard, this is the system that we want it to be kind of the all one-stop shopping type of experience. Meaning that from almost lead to close, and I'll explain what almost lead means as well. But we want this application to be something that you guys use to manage your transactions, to be able to update your information, to be able to see where in progress or the status of your transaction is, the system that actually drives and gives you notification of what's remaining, the ability to see your rev share, the ability to see your stock, to be able to see your cap status, everything, right? It should be part of the system. That's the vision, that's the goal. However, as we started releasing this product, we focused on one thing, and that was to help with the transaction process, meaning that a lot of what my TC's team, the transaction team, does, as well as what accounting does. So I haven't gotten to the issue yet, but here's the issue, right? It was a major platform launch, number one. Number two is this was supposed to be, and this is before my time, but from what I understand was this is supposed to be launched sometime in December of last year, during the quote unquote slow time of the season. With some development hiccups and with some things that were going on, the push for the launch got delayed and delayed and delayed until, what's wrong with that? It's the busy part of the season. It's the start of it, right? So we had issues with a new platform. We had to train our whole staff in terms of the platform itself. There were bugs in the platform that we had to work through that we've now, we worked through the first 2 to 3 weeks of May. But that created, and here's the problem number 3, that created the duplicative work that my transaction team had to do. So what that meant was we were still managing, we still are, running some items through Guru, which is our legacy platform. And then we have to also, in parallel, run it in the new platform for the enterprise app. In addition to learning, they had to actually run things through. One of the bugs that has been since fixed is, and it was fixed, I think, 2.5 weeks into May, was that when there was a change in status in either SkySlope that fed into the information into the enterprise app, since they're now integrated, it changed a status, which was if my TCs worked with all of you and it was ready for payment, and there was a status indicator that said, it was a payment ready to be processed status, right? I'm not going to give you the regular status because it won't mean anything to you, but it's essentially that essence. Well, the problem was if there was a change to anything that really didn't affect commission payout or where it was supposed to be sent in terms of a check or whatever, right? It changed the status back into the TC world where they had to, again, touch the file, see what was changed, and then kick it back into a state back into enterprise. So that's what I mean by the duplicative work. And so we got essentially backlogged because not only were new transactions coming in, but we had to take care of the transactions that we already took care of. So again, it's not an excuse. It is data that it's essentially what we had to navigate through. And so that was number 3. If I had to choose number 4, number 5, and kind of combine them together, right? Again, I already brought it up a little bit, but there was the training issue as well, but also the fact that this enterprise system really didn't have ready or built into components of it views. What I mean by that is dashboards for brokers to be able to see where you're at, for you guys to be able to see what you can actually do with an enterprise. And so that created a lot of people coming into the world going, hey, where's the status? And we're trying to not only find out through the two systems, but also educate, and that didn't work, right? And so all those things piled up on us in the first 3 weeks of May. So that's the Payment Express. We call it Operation Payment Express, and that's the initiative I'm part of. What have we done? So I do want to tell you what we've done in the meantime. And so I approach everything, and this is where my operations background comes into play. I approach everything through 3 prongs, or 3 pillars: people, process, technology. I'm sure all of you heard it before. So from a people standpoint, not only was there the training that I've already talked about, but there was also making sure that we brought in more folks, right? There were much more transaction volume coming in. There was the training piece, there was duplicative work. We needed to get out of the backlog. And so about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, we were now able to identify, as we were looking at the process piece, where were the pain points? Where were what we call critical moments of truth in the customer experience journey or the life cycle? And so this is essentially customer experience terminology or taxonomy, but it's called moments of truth. And moments of truth is essentially the processes that make the biggest impact that we should be focusing on, either in a positive or a negative way. And so we were identify what processes were the critical moments of truth, and we added staff. So literally within a 3-day time period of when we finally said, this is it, this is what we need to do, we hired 3 additional staff members to come into play. We're looking even this week to add in another 4 to our, I'll call it, inventory of resources of people to be able to do that as well. So literally we're moving very, very quickly. What unfortunately isn't available all the time in terms of transparency, which is one of our cultural and core values here at EXP, is that this information hasn't been getting out readily. However, right, I saw a post this weekend, and I don't know how many of you saw it, but there's a post this weekend on Facebook talking about payments. And there was a couple of points, and again, very valid. I'm very empathetic. I'm not saying don't do those things, but I saw it, right? And Jason and I immediately called each other up. I think Jason's time was somewhere around 10 p.m. and mine was 7 or something like that. And we got on the phone. And was like, hey, Jason's like, yeah, I know that announcements are coming out next week. And I essentially stopped him dead in his tracks and like, yeah, but we can't wait. So in the Facebook post, I gave a lot of the information I'm giving to you guys right now, just giving complete transparency about what's going on, what are our initiatives, where are we focusing on, how are we going to fix this. So not only is the people component added, we've also identified the processes that we're doing. And from the technology standpoint, there is a sprint right now. So this is, again, product development taxonomy and terminology. A sprint is essentially, for those, and again, I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence, but I'm just going to explain it, is what it sounds like. Instead of a crawling or walking or running, it's a sprint. And in product development sprints, generally there's daily updates that happen as part of these sprints, and that we identify what the issues are in the morning or talk about what we've been doing. We fix it, and the next day we track it and see what's going on. And so there's a constant sprint. There's a key milestone in the sprint, which is June the 19th, where additional enhancements in the enterprise application will be finished. So there's three things that are going to be part of it. Number one is, as part of the Operation Payment Express initiative, our commitment is by the end of this month, and this is why you can hear the sense of urgency and velocity of what you're seeing here. By the end of the month, for 90% of what we call core transactions, so essentially buy list residential properties, we will initiate payment within 24 hours of closing. Okay, so what does initiate mean? I'm very, very careful with words I choose. Is that we can initiate payment like push out an ACH payment. There are financial institutions that are great that you either get it the same day and they are posted the same day. Sometimes it takes the next day. So those are like the Bank of Americas and the Wells Fargo and the Chases, etc. And then there are certain credit unions that require a couple of extra days generally for post or to show it being posted. But initiating payment is something that we're taking quick velocity on and changing up. That's number one. The other piece of increasing the velocity that we're doing on this enterprise app is on June the 19th. Hopefully either on that date or shortly thereafter, processes that I mentioned that we identified that we were doing on the transaction team was that, and I don't know why, I literally have gotten multiple answers on this, so I'm not even going to attempt to give you the answer, but I'm going to tell you what the current state is that DAs were not sent out until 5 days before the date in SkySlope is indicated as the anticipated closing date. Well, what's the problem there, right? You guys are awesome at what you do. You sell. You probably close faster than that anticipated target date that was initially first entered in. So a lot of the times things were sent out or payments were done, and it was done incorrectly because we didn't have a DA to measure off of. And so what we're changing up, and hopefully again by the 19th, if not sooner, or a couple of days after that, is that we're going to do it as soon as we have broker approval. We're not going to wait for the target close date. Screw that. We're not waiting. And again, I don't know why that decision was made. It makes no sense whatsoever how we were running it, but that was one of the processes that we uncovered as well. So hopefully that will be fixed. The other two things, and then I'll pause again, is notifications. So we are right now beta testing notifications in Enterprise, and right now I believe it's just email. I don't believe text messages in it, but we know that that's part of generally what notifications people prefer as a text. But at least in email, we're going to provide updates in terms of triggers within Enterprise once it meets certain what we call gates or certain conditions that are met that we will send over your way. So one of the gates, and I'm going to pull up just so I'm not saying the wrong thing here. So give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I was trying to do it while I was talking here, but payment. Sorry about this, guys. It'll take just 2 more seconds here. All right. So the things that we're doing specifically on this is that once your transaction is quote unquote completely confirmed, meaning that it's ready for processing. I'm kind of going backwards here. Processing for payment, you'll get a notification there. 2, as soon as the information is entered in and we're kind of in the stage where we're ready to give you information on what your commission payouts look like, what the splits look like, what the fees look like, we're going to give you a notification email as well so you can actually go in and look at it. That helps us with an extra pair of eyes to make sure that we're not looking at wrong information or stale information, and you have the opportunity at least 10 days, hopefully before the closing date, for you to actually see some of those things. And then the last thing is that in between us moving from we have the information, the commission, and you've looked at it, to the actual push of a payment. In the middle of that is where we're going to say, we are now in the next state, and we're going to give you information about why we're going to be pushing payment to you and what the anticipated date is as well. So you're going to get 3 notifications from the system. Obviously, we want to build a lot more notifications in the system where you can actually choose which ones you want to see, but we're going to start off with those. And so that's the next enhancement as well within the enterprise app. And the other pieces are generally just specifically around how we can improve broker dashboards and visibility, agent dashboards. Well, we're not sure of what it's going to look like on June 19th or if that's going to be ready yet, but that is part of the sprint, is that we're building the infrastructure so we can actually show you dashboards, as well as the KPI or the commitment that we made, that 90% commitment. You can actually see how we're tracking as a company, hopefully as a state, and hopefully as an individual. We're not sure about the last 2 yet, but we do know overall we're going to be providing that as well. So that's the people, process, technology that we're actively working on. There's a lot more things behind the scenes that we're working on as well, but I believe that those bubble up to be kind of the 3 most important, from velocity of payment, visibility of transactions, as well as our commitment to you as an organization as EXP.
Hey, Kiwa, this is JT. So where's our current status? I know you described this to the brokers. Where's our current status with the backlog? How far were you paying?
Yeah, sorry about that, and I didn't mean to gloss over it. As of last Friday, and I'm going to give you a number, tell you what we did over the weekend, and hopefully we'll have an updated number today. But as of last Friday, we were 48 to 72 hours behind in terms of the backlog. So what you would normally feel in terms of payment, 3 business days on top of that. That's where we were last Friday. What did we do over the weekend? And this is the amazing people that we've hired, right? We not only were hiring skill set, we were hiring attitudes and personality, which, I'm going to say it is, right? I feel like sometimes, again, prior to me joining, I feel like we probably hired skill, but not necessarily personality, job fit, and all those other things. And so I interviewed them, even though some of these were temp workers. I interviewed them, and what did they do on Friday afternoon? They raised their hand going, hey, Kiwa, can we actually work the weekends because we're behind and we want to make a bigger dent before Monday hits? I was like, yeah, let me not let anything step in your way, go do it, right? And so I actually looked at time cards and check-ins, and I did see that they worked a significant amount of time over the weekend. So I'm going to hopefully get an update this morning in terms of where we're at. But even with that being said, and if today, and I'm going to, one last thing about transparency that I didn't tell you about, but if today when we're reporting on the status and it still says 48 to 72 hours, again, it was end of month, beginning busy season. So even though we were catching up and volume wise, we may have been also dealing with or managing through the increased volume. But right now, as of last Friday, 48 to 72 hours. The transparency piece that I talked about is that every morning, and again, this is as part of the broker meetings that Kathy has had, and a lot of people piped up, and JT as well, is that, look, guys, I would like transparency and visibility to what you guys are doing. I want EXP, I want to know EXP is taking this seriously. So every day, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and I know that's not every day, but Fridays is our leadership meeting, so we couldn't take over that one. But every Monday through Thursday at 8:30 Pacific in meeting room 6, we have what's called a Operation Payment Express stand-up. So again, taxonomy that is used in the product development world. But what we do is we give opportunity for anyone to join and being a fly on the wall. And I'm kind of being purposely emphasizing fly on the wall, is that this is my meeting. This is my internal meeting with my staff, getting updates, talking about what we did last week, what we're going to do today, what we're going to do for the next couple of days, et cetera, et cetera. So this is, again, a sprint, right? Just like product development. But it's giving you guys visibility to what we're talking about, and we don't hold back. We say what things are, and we're talking about problems that we are trying to overcome, but it is 100% transparency in how we do it. So if there is, I understand time zones impact, you guys are busy as well, but we did open the doors, allowing anyone to join in that they wanted to be that fly on the wall and listen in to our conversations.
Good morning, Kiwa. Dan Sawyer and my wife Denise is here. I don't really want to air this out in the meeting, but we've been having an issue for over a month that we've been trying to get answers to. And you should have received an email from my wife about 2 weeks ago, or Denise R. I'm sorry. And also, you should have received one Friday from Patty Shaw asking you to reach out to
Yep.
me. If possible, could you please do that?
Yeah, so number one, as I'm completely and 100% aware, actively happening right now, I believe in Scott Patronus's office, is that so there's a couple things, right? And Dan, I'm not going to get into the details because it's yours and your wife's information, but let me tell you what happened, right? Is when I got the email, we brought the team together. The current enterprise system doesn't support the current model of what we're talking about. Again, I'm being vague. And so that's why I have Scott Patronus on here. And literally, there is a conversation happening right now in his office with Glenn Stanford to try to figure out, what can we do in order to make this happen? Because it's something we can do in Guru. It's not something we can do in Enterprise, but we need to fix it because it sounds like it was a commitment that was made by the leadership team or someone when they were working directly together with you. And so we need to figure out systematically and operationally and technology wise how we can continue tracking it, because what we can't do is some of these manual things. And again, it's not just you and your wife, there's probably others out there as well, but it is a gap in terms of how the product was developed that again Scott and I stepped into, right? And so we are actively working on it as we speak. So Dan, I'm definitely aware of that, and I hope you appreciate the vagueness.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Like I say, just if somebody would keep us informed as to the progress, that would be great.
Yep, and
I
I
definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, and Dan, I do want to provide you with an update. But like I said, as soon as, and I'm reading it verbatim. Hey Scott, this is from Glenn. Are you in the cloud? If so, let's chat what this is and what the position the company is taking. I think there may have been some limitations in Guru in supporting what we really wanted to happen, but wanted to understand a bit better. Scott then replied, "Thank you, Glenn. I am. Where can I meet you?" And that was at 6:20 a.m. Pacific time. So again, it's actively happening. As soon as I get done here, I'm going to reach out to Scott and Glenn and see where they're at, and then I'll provide you guys an update. But again, I don't have an update because there's a parallel conversation happening right now.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Any other questions and comments?
Hey, another question here.
Again.
Oh, go ahead, Kate.
Sorry. I was just a comment, and you can do your question. Just thank you for being here this morning, because I know I was one of the commission issues too. I think I sent you a Voxer on it a couple weeks ago. So this is probably the most information I've heard. Information. I'm very grateful right now. So thank you.
You're welcome. And here's the thing, right? It was a kind of a catch-22. So Mitch, who's the senior VP of marketing, and I talked several times last week, and we actually, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we're in an office share location here in Seattle called WeWork. It's a company called WeWork, and Mitch and I sit in the same office. And so we talk about this, and the thing that I told Mitch was, look, we need communications and transparency out this door. And he's obviously trying to work and making sure that I don't say the wrong thing. But in my world I don't think just giving information is going to be wrong in any way, shape, or fashion. So we were planning, again, a communication that goes out this week. But one of the things is it's not just the communication out and the transparency, but it's also what can we do to make to help you guys help us. And I'm not pushing responsibility. I hope you understand this. I'm not doing or delegating or deflecting. I'm not doing any of that. But there are payment issues that are caused by, I'll just call it out, right? I mean, there's sometimes things don't get into SkySlope that needs to get into SkySlope, or there's sometimes brokers are really slow to approve things, or sometimes my team is backlogged, like I told you, and we're dropping the ball in terms of our service level that we want to be part of, want to engage and deliver on. So those things have to go out. And the problem that Mitch and I were having was, hey, look, right, when I'm looking at the volume and I'm looking at the escalations, and again, I'm going to make up a word. I'm not superficializing the problem by any means, shape, or form, right? But it is a smaller population that's experiencing this, and mainly in states that don't allow for split checks or being, checks cut at the table. So, and there's a slower, more manual process internally. There's also even though that there's single checks for single check states, there is a process that we have that we don't necessarily have to wait until the check arrives to our drop boxes. There is a process in play where, as long as we got the settlement statement and we know, quote unquote, the transaction is real, we should be able to cut checks out, as soon as we get that. And so there really isn't, again, those are, as I peel back the onion is what I'll call it, right? I'm finding out, oh my gosh, why is this process the way it is? Or, oh my gosh, I didn't even know about this until yesterday, and let's now start talking about that. And so there's like a lot of layers, and I know that I've been, communicating to agents, with other teams, like, and I'm going to call it out, right? The cost group is one of those teams that are in a non-split, situation a lot of the times, and I hear it loud and clear, and one of their agents has been, rightfully so, extremely frustrated and directed, very direct in terms of the communication. And the thing that I have to say is, there are things that I can't just flick a switch on, even though I want to. And believe me, I've had enough conversations, and oh geez, try not to get emotional, in the past 2 weeks, that I hear people that can't pay their mortgage or their child support or buy books or tuition. I mean, it's just, it's tough. I don't take it personally, but I hear this and I want to do things a lot faster than it is. But sometimes the people, the process, and the technology, they're all interdependent to one another, and I can't do it as fast as I want. But I can assure you that the sense of urgency and everything that we're doing, and when we say we just want patience, it really is. And we're seeing it across the board. And again, it's a smaller population, but nevertheless, it's a problem, and it's something that I need to make sure we manage too. So I just want you guys to know, I mean, I'm definitely serious about this, and I wake up in the mornings, and this is where I was telling JT, I'm up already. Right, I wake up at 4:30 a.m. Pacific. I get on board by 6:30. I work until 6 o'clock, and by the way, I'm not saying I'm working harder than anyone wants, but just this is the day in life. I'm done at 6. I eat dinner with my family, and then I'm back on from 7 until like midnight or past 1. And the only thing I live and breathe right now is I've put agent experience off to the side. The only thing I care about right now is payment. And so if there's other issues coming in, I hate to say it, but sometimes it's kind of getting the back seat, because there's nothing more important to me than getting money into people's hands rightfully. You guys earned it. You closed the deal. You need to get payment a lot faster than you are right now. So that's the only thing I breathe right now. But thank you, Gabe.
Any other questions for Kiwa?
There's just the vision piece that I haven't touched on. But,
please do. The floor is yours.
But are there any other questions before I move to the next one? All right. So vision. Here's the thing. I'm gonna call out some some opportunities if I'm looking at this positively. Obviously a national brokerage in the cloud, and we say that we're here for you anytime, anywhere, right? But we're not. And what I mean by that is, you're most busiest in Fridays, the weekends, getting ready on Monday, and do we have anyone in the world to support you? Nope. Right, and that was again, I was doing my interview process. I was jumping in the world before I was hired, and I came on different times of the days of the week, just to kind of assess, and didn't see anything on the weekends. And I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong. And so when I started digging a little deeper, I found out that we're essentially a follow the sun 8 to 5, 9 to 5, what do you want to call it in your time zone. And that's not enough. And so when I take a look at all of this, is that number one for me is that I need to make sure that we're available in the time that is most needed for all of you. And so there is, and again, there's a huge component to it. It's not, again, I can't just hire people in and staff them accordingly. There's a lot of pieces that need to be built into this as well. But one of my first priorities after payment, as part of the experience, is being more available. So I will be, looking to extend hours on the weekends, looking to extend hours during the normal business day. When I say extend hours in the weekend, actually make hours available on the weekends and extend hours on the days of the week that are most busy. But again, there's the people, process, technology, but then I'm also going to call budget as well, right? It's not something that's as simple as just changing shifts. And so I also don't want to kind of pull away people Monday through Friday and put them on the weekend, and then have I'll call it lean support during the weekdays. And so a lot of pieces to this puzzle that I'm working through, but the vision, right, is more availability, right? That's number one. Number two, in terms of the vision, is again, better, I'll call it readiness. So I had mentioned at the very beginning that customer service is when customer experience fit. I want to make sure that the assets and the tools, there's a lot of great training, right? There's a ton of classes that happen throughout the week. There's a bunch of videos that are, in our EXP cloud. But, is there truly a learning management type of system put into play where, you could, easily navigate to the materials, or we can easily prescribe what should you do, steps 1 through 5 when you first join as an agent? Or in terms of continuous education, instead of just attending classes over and over, are there classes that build upon one another? Like in college, right? There's a 100 level course and 200 and 300 level course. So there's a lot in terms of learning that we want to make sure that we're providing to you. And the learning piece essentially enables you to be more efficient and effective in what you do as it relates to either your job, or better yet, right? Again, you're great at what you do, but better yet, how you can ensure that your experience with EXP is not only flawless, but it's painless, right? And so those are big pieces and big ticket items that I'm working on as well. So availability and readiness are two pieces in terms of the vision. And then the last piece in terms of the vision is what I call managing up. And what I mean by that is, I have, again, a dedicated team of staff and personnel in terms of delivering an experience, but could they be better in terms of skills, whether it be hard skills or soft skills? Absolutely. And so there are things that I'm looking up in terms of making sure that I'm bringing in, a management team. So some are going to be promoted because they're awesome performers. Some of it is going to be me bringing in outside folks that I'm, either have a network with or other people have recommendations for, but bringing a stronger management team that can help manage up the organization as it looks today. So there's going to be a lot of essentially development and items such as that will really deliver a much better experience. But those are, when I say the vision, its vision generally is 3 to 5 years. That vision is really within the next 6 months, right? That I'm going to make some of these things happen. I've already aligned on one of the organizations that I have that I will be announcing fairly soon in terms of driving efficiencies and effectiveness. I'll be doing the same. But then again, uplifting talent or bringing in talent to do what I need in terms of what the next stage of the organization will look like. So that's it. Again, I could deep dive wherever you guys need to if you have a question. But again, I hope that today's meeting was helpful. I hope that this type of communication will be more normal, whether it's executives coming into state meetings like this. And by the way, this isn't blowing smoke. This is last Friday. Sorry, one last thing, whether Russ likes me telling this or not. But last Friday, right, the leadership meeting meets every Friday and every Monday. But on Friday, it's between 9 to 11 Pacific. And one of the things that was talked about was how do we get more engaged in state meetings like this? And we were talking about, how we arm every one of the executives with a messaging framework, some boilerplates, making sure we're saying the same thing, but it is on our docket to make sure that we're more engaged moving forward. And so whether it be state meetings, whether it be communications, I don't know, right? Because we need to be able to scale what we're trying to do and be able to effectively still do our jobs. But we do know meetings like this are extremely important for us to make happen. So again, that's why when JT said, "Hey, Kiwa, can you join?" I'm like, sure, I'm all over it. Albeit, JT, I think he sent the message on Friday, and I didn't get back to him until Sunday. Voxer is being stupid. That's all I'm going to say. So I had to reinstall, etc. But I'm getting to the messages that I'm getting on it right now. But regardless, again, JT was awesome in inviting me, and I jumped at the opportunity to get in front of all of you.
So in my broker file, is there any extra credit involved or anything like that? Or
I believe gold stars are being sent your way.
Yeah, good. We like gold stars.
Yeah, but JT, thanks again. I mean, it was awesome for the invite to be received.
Oh no, thank you. I was thinking you might speak for 5 or 6 minutes, and you willingly and graciously spoke for this much time. So I appreciate it. I'm guessing you probably have to get over to your meeting. What time did you say that start Pacific?
Well, there's it's 8:30. That's another 50 minutes away. But I do want to see if Glenn and Scott are still talking. So I'm going to jump in there, and then I have remember I said new people? I have a new person. Oh yeah, I've already got to even mention this. I have a new employee starting that is going to help in world and for accounting. So her name is Christine. She's going to work closely with Robert Stanford as well as Doug Moore. But I've added one net new. There's going to be 2 more that I'm going to be adding to that group as well to provide more in-world support. So it's not. I mentioned that agent experience isn't just the 3 teams I manage. I don't manage accounting, but it's agent experience, and I needed to make sure that we're doing some uplifteds there. So she starts at 8, and then 8:30 is the stand up, and then 9 o'clock is our leadership meeting that we do every. So the Fridays is 9 to 11. Pacific, and then the Monday is 9 to 10 Pacific. So, and I guarantee you, by the way, we use a Trello board, if you're familiar with that, and we have cards in the Trello board, and the only card that stays on the top, sort of like posting in Facebook and making sure it sticks to the top, is Operation Payment Express. That's what we lead with every one of those meetings, and I don't even think we talked about anything else on Friday for 2 hours other than this. So, anyhow.
Very good. Well, thank you, Kiwa. We appreciate you coming by.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kiwa.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thanks, Kiwa.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was nice. I just invited him at the last minute. I was hoping to just have him introduce himself, talk about the things he does, but he gave us almost 45 minutes, and it was a good 45 minutes of information. So that was very good. I will try to shorten up the meeting here a little bit, so we're not here on a mega meeting forever. So let me move on here with a couple things I have on the agenda. And hang on one second here. There we go. All right, I just had to click my microphone on permanently here while I'm talking. Like I said, these meetings are now being recorded. I'm using Screencast-O-Matic. I don't know how they do it in the other ones, but if I switch screens, it'll come up on the recording. If I move my mouse and cursor around, it'll come up on the recordings. So, but this will be up on YouTube. So that's the first thing I want to start with. We have a YouTube channel, and I'll send out an email with the details, but it's simply called EXP Realty, in Delaware. So I'm still learning about, this is a brand YouTube channel, that's what that they call it. So I'm still learning a little bit about how to get things organized and set up, and folders and playlists and all that good stuff. But what I did was on there, and I assume everyone who subscribes to this channel can see it, is that I tried to subscribe to a lot of other things that would be pertinent to us. So, for example, Commissions Inc. has a YouTube channel. I'm sure there's videos and instruction on there. You could find it on our EXP Realty in Delaware. Same thing with Conversion, RIS Media, EXP Cloud, and on and on and on. I subscribe to a number of different things. So it might be a good way to jump in there, take a look, and get to other places rather quickly by seeing what we got. The other thing we're going to be doing on there is, I like Hank Vink. Who else? Kate, you know this. Skyslope. Matus motivational videos. That's up on there too. I would suggest going into this Matus. You'll see it on there. Motivational videos, and listening to one of these videos if you want to get pumped up at the beginning of the day. Holy smokes! I first heard these from Hank Vink in I guess October, but I can't say I listen to them every day, but just about every day. They really will get you going and pumped up. So take a look at that. There's going to be a playlist of training videos, and I've started them already. So they'll be up there shortly. I have a couple just floating around up there. I'd like to figure out how to make it private, how to get people into it and out of that, just so, how do you spell that? Matus, I guess is M-A-T-E-U-S-Z. And it's just got a weird name. Matus M, I think is what the channel is called. But you'll find it up on that EXP Delaware YouTube channel. So I've got some training videos coming up there. We're going to have what I'm calling a foundations course for anyone who's new or doesn't do a lot of business, and we're going to cover buyers, sellers, open houses, things like that. Just a good foundation course. I've also got some extensive training on document preparation. So they're anywhere from, there you go. They're anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour for the agreement of sale. I'll also be putting up some 5-minute refreshers. So it's good if you want to take the training course for 20 minutes to an hour, whatever it is, me explaining how to fill in a document. But I also give a lot of tips and advice and you know me, a few war stories along the way to help you. But I'll be having some 5-minute videos on just quick refreshers that you could look at as well too. So we'll have those two things for sure: a foundations training course and document preparation in there too. Let's see what else with that YouTube channel training. Oh, we're going to put our meetings up in there. Yep, so that'll be good too. Talking a little bit more about, and let me just check down here. So check these text boxes here. Repeat the name and the D. Okay, it is EXP Realty, comma. I don't know where the comma came from. In Delaware. So I think if you just put that in a search box, it'll probably pop up. But yeah, with the training, we do have people who are coming aboard new. We appeal to a lot of new folks, and it makes sense. I mean, if you've got, some sense and some reasoning and you look at EXP, it makes sense. So there's no registration or anything like that. You could go in and take a look at these videos. And even if you have some experience, it might not be a bad idea just to hear a different point of view. So even if I speak for 30 minutes and you get 1 or 2 nuggets that you didn't know before, all good. All good. Let's see here. Okay, onboarding. Let's talk about that for a minute. Whoops, let me just get rid of that there. Okay. I know we have onboarding services. I know Kiwa's in charge of that in a broad umbrella sense. But there's a lot to get done with onboarding within the state as well. And I've not been pleased with how it goes. I think the agents, there's a lot to learn and understand. I hear agents sometimes, 6 months after they join, say, what is Breakthrough Broker? I didn't even know we had that. What is, this? What is that? And so I am putting together our own onboarding. And I'm about a fifth of the way through that, I would say, too. And here's what happened. I just had this, I purchased this wonderful piece of software for CRM. This was before we switched. And it's called RealVolve, but that's of no importance, really. But what they did was they sent me automatically 30 days of getting used to the software with something small to do every day. And each email was titled Day 1, Day 2, Day 3. Did you know about this? Did you do this? Did you put your profile picture up onto our, did you get your email signature set up? Just little things like that. And that really got me organized, onboarded to this CRM software. Nice and easy, instead of binge watching a whole bunch of videos all at once. So we're going to have the same thing here in the state. It's not anything what the EXP is doing. It's what I'm doing. And when you come aboard, I may just try putting everybody into it just so that everyone's on the same page. But there'll be a very short email with something to do every day or something to make you aware of with EXP as part of onboarding. And it'll be, day 1 through, I'm thinking 30 days. It may be a little longer than that if I have enough, but at least 30 days. Let's see here. Yes, thank you, Brian. I'd love your feedback on that. I really, really would. I'm going to send out an email with some other notes in the meeting so I could keep it a little shorter for you here. I do have some local association news, and the big one I want to tell you is in Kent County we have a brokers meeting of just county brokers. Now, you know what? I'm going to tell you something on a side note. Listening to these other brokers, and because I'm in a meeting with all the brokers, managers, owners of agencies in Kent County, and sitting there and listening to some of the things they're talking about and what they're doing. One of them saying, boy, I think I'm going to try to do an online survey. Not sure how to do that. And then a couple other brokers said, there's probably software for it. And another one saying, I bought a scanning machine for my office. I'm not sure what the agents are going to use it for, but I had 1 or 2 ask for it, and I have it right there next to my fax machine. And I felt like I was from the future and came back to 85. I really feel like they were, it was just an observation that they were really behind the times with a lot of things, and how advanced we are here. It's not so much, yeah, I'm like, it's not so much, we are that technology based, because it's not hard stuff we're doing here, but they're just really, as a group, pretty much behind the times. So what I wanted to tell you is this: in Sussex County. So at that meeting, we have a director for Trend, or Bright, which is going to be known as, and that's Charlie Martin with Harrington ERA. So he gave a couple updates, and I peppered him with a couple of the questions here too. So here's the news things that he reports. Sussex County has signed a lockbox agreement. They're going to update their lockboxes, and it's going to be, get out the trumpets, one key, one account. You could get into Sussex or Kent County Sentry locks. Yeah, and I see light bulbs lighting up. Yes, absolutely. If I'm lying, I'm dying. So that's big news. I don't know when that's going to start, but I understand they just signed it. The other part is, as we move into this Bright, I'll give you a quick Bright update. We were in Trend. Bright is a mega MLS merging, I think, 12 or 13 private MLS systems. So Sussex is not fully, absolutely, Sussex is not fully integrated yet, although they are using that matrix system, but they will be December 1st. And Coastal, which is an independent MLS for OC, for Ocean City, they'll be in December 1st as well. So those are the two big ones I wanted to mention there too. I have here in two, I wanted to talk about State Administrative Broker. That's my title now. I'm a State Administrative Broker. For the state of Delaware, I'm still the State Broker of Record. And that's, so on business cards and things like that, with the yard signs, you're better off keeping it a State Broker of record for the state of Delaware. I don't think there's any fee increases, but I'm just not sure. And that's been a question on people's minds. We used to pay, just for example, we used to pay, I don't know what it is now, $148, $160 for 6 months with Trend. Whereas Maris, which is the Maryland one, was like $250 a quarter. So it's $1,000 compared to $320. So I'm not sure how all that's going to change or affect, or if they're still going to be charging the same. But so I don't know that answer. So State Broker of Record. So my duties have increased, and from your end, I don't see much change. I'm just a quick summation. I'm a little bit more of an employee in regard to a broker than a purely independent contractor, which was kind of similar to what it was before. So some minor changes. I don't think it's going to affect a lot of us here too. Let's see here. I've got some EXP news, and then I'm going to open it up. I had some tips and some training, but I'm going to skip over that. I'll put that into an email for you folks. There's some free ebooks available and things like that. There's a free website from Riz Media. I'll put that in there too. But some EXP news. We are having a new position. I don't think EXP announced it yet. They probably don't want me to announce it yet, but hey. There's going to be a regional, what's his title? Regional leader, regional broker leadership. And this person is going to be in charge mostly with attractology and helping us in attractology. They're going to be pretty much professional attractologists, or recruiters if you want to use the old-fashioned term. The positions are, they want only broker records. They've already got one for our region, which is going to be David Harbor out of Virginia, and he's going to be handling Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and I think West Virginia as well too. So we're still working on what he's going to be doing with us, but I think moving forward, he's glad to help with events, and if he can, and I think he's also good to give a presentation if you have someone on the fence that you want him to do a presentation for. I don't think he's there for us to abuse, covering 4 states, but he's still kind of defining, and I think the company is too, as to what they're going to be doing. In the states above us, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, I think Connecticut, it's going to be the state broker up there, Jeannie Borgers. And so David is looking for a new broker of record for Virginia, and they just hired a new broker of record for New Jersey. Chris Riley was our broker for Maryland, and he's now going to be, now they've decided to break the country up. So whereas the brokers were just this merry band of troops group, we were like gypsies. For a long time we didn't even have meetings except among ourselves once in a while. We now have a director, or for a couple months now, of, what's her title? Kathy Gordon, director of, maybe it's a vice president, broker operations. So now they've set up one for the East Coast as well. So Kathy's still in charge, but we actually have an East Coast director, and that's Chris Riley. And if you've never met him or talked with him, he's a really sharp guy, really knows brokerage extremely well. I've spent plenty of time picking his brain and discussing things, and we are like two peas in a pod. So it's just I think it's going to be a great, great match. But here's what I wanted to bring up that I'd like to see if I can do, because I thought this was genius. What Chris was doing in, and you know what, I wish I'd asked Kiwa this, but I will. And I just was talking to Chris about this not long ago. What Chris was doing in Maryland was this. He was not handling any escrow checks. They were all being sent to the attorney to hold. And then at the time of settlement, he was giving directions to the attorney to issue 2 checks to eXp Realty, one to the company, one to the agent. So in other words, if there was, let's use that example of a flat $10,000 commission, normally at the settlement table you'd get $10,000, and that has to be sent and then processed. And you heard Kiwa talking about the backlog and all this. What they were doing over there is, in essence, they had instructions so that the attorneys were cutting 2 checks. So for that $10,000 commission, $2,000 is going to eXp Realty, and the $8,000 is going to the agent. And I suppose minus the document fee and the E&O. But you walk away with your own check already split. I think that's fantastic, because then there is, 24 hours is pretty good, but having it handed to you at the table is excellent. So I don't know. I'm not promising that. I don't know if that can be done in Delaware. I think it can. I know attorneys hold escrows here once in a while. But I know that there is someone in the company, Chris, next door to us, who has been doing it and has experience with it. So I'll be picking his brain some more. That's actually not old news. That's actually very, very new news. Chris and I were just talking about this, I think Friday or Saturday. So I just think that's a great idea. Let me see what else here. Yeah, that's about all. I have some other things here, but we'll be going into those things later. A couple things I wanted to mention. Did I find out? Hang on, let me move this down. Did I find out about Sync working for us? Yes, they are rapidly fixing all the errors. It's not just us. There are people in Oklahoma apparently who are listed in Denver, and people on the border of Florida who are listed in Atlanta, and on and on. So they are rapidly working on it. And from what I understand, there's a team, a sub-team put together just to nail these things out. When I look at my Sync, I have 3 state offices under me, of which 2 are in Pennsylvania. So yeah, hopefully that'll get worked out pretty quickly too. Now, just for anybody in here who's new, we have a Facebook page, and I think, what do we call that one? eXp Realty Delaware? Sorry, Delaware eXp Realty, I'm not sure. What I try to do is to get more coverage and more brand awareness. Not so much the rah-rah, hey, look at eXp, aren't we great? Here, have a glass of Kool-Aid. Just a little more brand awareness. So very often I will try to post things to eXp Delaware on a more public relations type of thing, whether it's an open house or a new agent. And then a short while later, I will share the eXp Realty Delaware page. and hopefully that'll get, and it always seems to get more people to click and like on that page as well too. And the more clicks and likes that we get, the more comfortable other people are liking that page. In other words, other agents. So if you have an open house, let me know if you're going to post it online. I think everyone here has the capability that they could post to the eXp Realty Delaware page. So put your no matter where you put an open house post on Facebook, try to think of putting it to that eXp Realty Delaware page as well. And then, I will always try to share it. And you see that I do that. Whenever I see an open house, I always try to make sure that I share that publicly. And my philosophy is that if I see it and, it says, when was it posted? It says just now. I won't share it right away. I try not to, because I figure it's already on everybody's feed that So I try to wait a couple beats, like an hour or 2 hour or later that evening, and share it so it's on a whole fresh new set of Facebook feeds. And I try to do that, I do that so it's public as well. I'm going to open it up to everybody in a minute here. Tell me about listings or anything buyers you're having trouble with. But I do have one thing I just wanted to go over with, and this idea, oops, let me just get rid of that. There we go. I'm recording and I had my text box wide open here. So I was at a broker's open house last Thursday evening, Dan and Denise, very nice house by the way. I noticed that it had a first floor owner's suite. I have a listing in Nobles Pond that is a pure 55 plus community. Dan's, yours is open to, it's just fine for a 55 plus. I'm wondering if anyone else has anything listed like that right now. And here's my thought. How about we try to put together a series of open houses on the same day, and we will advertise it in New Jersey for 55 plus, and we'll target the ad. I can target the ad to people who are over the age of 50, and yeah, right. So if you have anything or about to list anything, it doesn't have to be in a 55 plus community like Dan and Denise's isn't, but it's a one-story open floor plan. Dan's is with the first floor owner suite. Those are perfect. And then maybe we could get people down and say, here's a 3 or 4 house tour that you could get. And maybe we could even do the things that you do at Brokers Open, visit all 4 and be eligible for a gift card. And we'll just advertise that in, the southern part of Pennsylvania and all of New Jersey for, 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And if you've not done any Facebook advertising or print advertising in New Jersey, this day and age, I think your best bang for the buck is Facebook. They're all on there. They all got grandkids. That's where they see the pictures of the grandkids. But I'll give you my secret recipe for advertising houses in New Jersey. They don't talk about how many bedrooms or this or that or the land. Slap a big banner across the top of it and put what the property taxes are. And make sure you say per year. Because when you write that it's $1,250 per year property taxes, their jaws are going to drop, because if you don't know this, they're paying $12,000 to $16,000 a year in property taxes. So, yeah, talk about cheese in debate. That's the best one you got right there. Just slap what the property tax of that house is. So we could set up a nice little ad for that. If anyone's interested, let me know if you got anything like that. All right. So. It's 5 after 11, but I do want to just open up. I didn't think Kiwa was going to speak for 45 minutes. Bless his heart. That was all good stuff. But please, anybody have any listings they want to tout or talk about or anything like that?
JT, we're getting matter of fact, we signed the papers yesterday. We should have it out tomorrow. It is still under construction. It is approximately 1,300 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, with a 2-car garage, a front porch, back patio, concrete patio, $3,000 appliance allowance, so you can pick your own appliances on a 1-acre lot. It's in the Hartley area. That is listed at $239, and with that is
be absolutely willing to do that open house thing with you.
Yeah, and we will definitely do the open house thing. That works.
Yeah, and if you put both of them on there, that'd be
Anybody has
good.
any questions?
Yeah, if you put both of them on there,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Yeah.
So, okay. So, all right. Well, like I say, this is still under construction, but it is very viewable. So,
All right. Anybody else have anything else? Any questions? Oh, good question. How many DE agents do we have right now? I was actually trying to figure that out. Oh, gosh, I'm glad you reminded me. There's one piece of news I did not want this meeting to end without letting you know this. Hang on. There we go. Okay. I've been counting. We have 3 stages. We have agents here. We have some agents, who are not here, but that's far and few between. And we have some agents who have agreed to come aboard, but haven't given their transfer papers yet. So my best reckoning is that we are at 35 right now. Now, here's the news.
That's great.
Yeah, isn't it? And I think it's just exponentially growing. We are already bigger. I think we're already the 4th or 5th largest in Kent County already. So I wouldn't be surprised that, with all these other things going into place too, and everyone getting a little more outgoing with attractology, and the word gets out more and more, I expect that growth to be exponential. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make some changes. EXP talks about scalability as kind of a corporate buzzword, but I find it's very legit. So when we had 10, 12 agents, I was able to pretty much handle everything from my hip pocket. As we get to 30, 35 agents and I'm answering questions and onboarding and training and going on and on and on, I find that I want more systems in place so that I can handle 100 agents or 200 agents. So that's part of the things like our automated text messages there. Anyway, what I want to say this, I do have some extremely, extremely sad news. That was very tough, emotional phone call. And you know what? I built that up way too negatively. But our Joanne Brandt is leaving eXp Realty. And she called me on Friday, and like I said, it was a very tough, emotional phone call. Yeah, she is got a group together, and she lives in Maryland, working in South Delaware, and she wants to. She got her Maryland license, and she wants to sell down in there too. And most of the issues involves, from what I could see, the fact that Sussex is their, they marched their own drummer. They're in a different MLS. Coastal Ocean City is the same way, because the rest of the state is with Maris, that's the MLS, but they have their own little MLS. So between these two independent MLSs, Joe wanted one big sync site, and with a dashboard to handle it all. And the best we could do right now is try to negotiate with Sussex and with the Coastal, of which eXp is not a member yet because we don't have anybody down in there yet too. So she was working on it, and Chris Riley, who was the broker of Maryland, and myself and Joe have been going back and forth with helping her get set up in this, and right to the point where we even had business cards that were approved for her for dual states. But she just finally said, it just can't work. There's going to have all these different websites, all these different things, all that. She loves eXp. She does not really want to leave, but I certainly wish her all the best. And she talked that possibly when things are straightened out, she just doesn't want to wait, and I understand this, with her business till the end of the year to hopefully get things set up. She's a doer. She's a go-getter. And if you know her, you know that about her. And God bless, that's a great attribute. So she wants to get up and get going. So yeah, I'm real sad to see her because I like her. I like her husband Fred a lot. There is every opportunity in the world for her to be coming back at some point. She very plainly expressed that. But it was a very, very tough phone call for both her and myself too, and I will certainly miss her. Yeah. So if anybody wants to reach out to her and just give her all the best and encouragement, she could probably use that. So that'd be good. But I know it was a very, very reluctant decision. But it's what's best for her business right now. But she stressed over and over she did not have any issues with EXP and adores the brokerage. So this was, I've had one or two agents come and go. They really didn't do a lot of business while they were here. But our retention rate is through the roof, phenomenally good. An average retention rate is something like 85%. We're so close to 100%. We're not, but we're very, very close to that. So this will actually be my first experience too into, I don't know what the correct term is, deboarding, offboarding. Maybe you deboard a plane. I don't know. Let's call it offboarding because it's the opposite of onboarding. So it'll be my first experience, kind of removing someone from EXP Realty. But anyway, now we're pushing quarter after. I apologize for this. Anyone have anything else? If not, I will let you folks go.
JT, I got something real quick just for everyone because not that it fell off my radar, but let's face it, I'm basically a part-time agent trying to watch Chase and run my business. So trying to put that fundraiser together, I've done zero. So I haven't told Sarah yet over at Fordham Brewery, although she actually messaged me last week and said she's leaving. She's not going to be working there anymore. But basically right now I have nothing planned. I had a date on the calendar, but that's about as far as I got. So there's just other things that were priorities, and it was just getting hard to squeeze that into my calendar. So just a heads up that that's probably not going to happen. And we might just have to do it next year. Because I can't push it any further because I'm going to have baby boy number 2 in mid-September. And it was supposed to be August 10th. So.
Yeah, very good. That makes sense. That's legit. Anybody have anything else? All right. Well, then you're all excused. I thank you all for coming. I hope those text messages help. Like I said, they are automatic. So we are now going to be meeting every other week. So we will be getting, you'll be seeing this automatic text message come in on probably Fridays and then just that Monday morning. So they're all set up automatic, ready to go. I very nicely was tech savvy enough to have it put your name into it too, so you'll see it comes looking personal. I'm very transparent, so that's a bulk text. But it's nice that I could use your first name in the thing. If you do want to respond to those, that's fine. It comes to me as an email, so there's a little bit of a lag, I think. I don't know how long of a lag, but it'll come to an email and then go into my Gmail account saying, reply to this text from so-and-so. And the point is, and I mentioned it the other day, if you need me, are you able to send it to both, whoops, you dropped away. Are you able to send it to both Michael's and my number? So I guess where it says Michael Collin, this is really Amy, is that correct? Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. It takes whatever phone numbers I put in there. So I'll check. I thought I had you in there, but I'll double check. Maybe I just put one in there or something. But I'll double check on that. And my point I wanted to make was, if you need me for something, for a question or something like that, don't use that. Just because there's a lag in time, because it translates it into an email, then sends the email, then goes to my Gmail, and I have to open it up and look at what it is, and that's not that big of a deal. But if you need me, just text my number directly. So hopefully you added that number and just called it something like EXP Delaware office or something like that, so you know when it's one of these, broadcast. Let's call it broadcast email, text message. There you go. Yeah, it's perfect, Kate. Yep, very clever. Anybody have anything else? You folks are free to go, and enjoy the day and, use lotion. I hear we're going into the mid-90s today.
For real. Oh, hey, did you say this is going to be bi-weekly now?
Yes, or twice a month, whatever the correct term
Totally
is.
missed that. Or, yeah, twice a month. But
Yeah. Well, we've grown. When we had, 10, 12, 15, there wasn't that much news. As the EXP is growing, there's always going to be a little bit more state news and a little bit more EXP news, more listings, more this, more that. So I know a lot of most other states are doing once a week. Texas, I think, is doing the same meeting twice a week because there's 1,000 of them. Yeah. So I think they have like a mega church with 2 services type of thing. So I think we're probably at the point where every other week would cover us pretty nicely. But also,
first and third Monday of the month, or like what?
That's what it's going to be. It's going to be 2 weeks from today, and then 2 weeks after that, and 2 weeks after that. But I've got those text messages set up to just let you know right already. So whenever it is, I guess if there's a holiday or something on one of these days, we'll call it. But yeah, so we'll be meeting every other week.
Every other. Okay, got it. I'll put it in my calendar. So.
Yep.
Yep. Alrighty. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, folks. Talk to you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.